Are you in sales and still struggling to form those relationships with your clients? If so, check out this video. I'm about to give you some tips and tricks in order to get those relationships rock solid. We're gonna be talking about those pesky relationships, whether you're forming them initially when you're doing your discovery call or when you're first engaging with the client. So why is it important to form these relationships? You know, you can list 10, 15 different reasons as to why these relationships are important, but forming them early on is the most important thing. Forming them on your first initial call is really your goal. It doesn't need to be cheesy. You don't need to sit there and try and do that pesky little used car salesman sales pitch where you're trying to relate to them and everything that they're gonna say. You can form a relationship with somebody and you guys have opposite views. That's actually something that I pride myself on, is being able to form a relationship with somebody that has an opposing view of mine. Not because I'm gonna come at them and be like, well, your point of view is wrong. You can form a relationship by having that conversation. Just by forming a conversation with them about something, whether it be, you know, hey, how was your day? How was your week? How was your month? You know, and then them giving you some information, whether they went fishing, whether they did something with their family, whether they did this. Getting that information gets you to know them on a personal level and gets you to form that relationship with them. In return, you need to also give them some sort of information on you. You know, you don't need to tell them your whole backstory. You don't need to go into specifically what you did on the weekends. But you know, if they give you a piece of information that you can relate to it. You know, they went fishing. Oh, I went fishing with my grandpa, or used to go fishing with my grandpa. I went fishing last week. Or even if you don't fish, just showing genuine interest in what they have to speak about can really form that relationship, because they see that you're willing to listen, that you're willing to engage with them, that you're willing to take what they say and put it into your thought process and actually give them some sort of response, because that's what they're looking for in a business relationship. They're looking for that form of relationship where you're going to be listening to them, where you're either taking notes, where you're acknowledging the things that they are saying and that they are wanting to be done, and you're going to be able to get them done. It creates a form of trust, and trust in a relationship is how you get to sign that deal. Is how you get to move, you know, have years worth of deals with one client, is forming a relationship, is forming that level of trust where they trust you because of what you've told them, what you've said to them, what you guys have experienced together. Everybody knows a relationship is about give and take. Sometimes a client might ask something that, you know, you aren't specifically 100% in on, but it's something that they want to do. You can't just say no to the client. You can bring them a reason as to why this might not be a good idea, and tracking back to forming that relationship, they're more likely to listen to you. If you have that relationship with them, if you've built that relationship, they're more willing to take your advice. How do you form that relationship without sounding cheesy? You're not necessarily agreeing with everything that they're going on. You're not doing that used car salesman pitch where you're trying to relate necessarily to everything. If you can't relate to what they're talking about, you know, ask them questions on it. Be interested. Ask them, oh, if you don't understand what they're necessarily talking about, ask those questions. People they like to talk about themselves. Everybody does. You know, everybody likes to talk about what they've done, you know, the things that they are knowledgeable on. And if you ask those questions, they also see you as someone that wants to learn. You're not just that person that's sitting there just wanting to talk about themselves or get straight down to that business aspect of it. I mean, some people will want to just get straight down to business, and you'll know when you get on that discovery call, when you first meet them, if you start trying to, you know, form that relationship and they get a little, okay, let's get down to business, then take that note. That's still forming a relationship. They're business-minded people. They want to get straight down to business. If you can acknowledge that and go, okay, these are business-minded people and they want to get straight to business, you getting straight to business with them forms that relationship, forms that I am a business like-minded person such as yourself. So once you created that relationship, once you have that, you know, I trust you relationship, one of the best things that you can hear on a sales call is that between you and me. You don't get that between you and me thing unless you have formed that relationship, unless that person has that trust in you. Because you can ask those questions then, the between you and me questions. If they come to you and they go, well, between you and me, my budget is this. Between you and me, we are talking to these kind of people. You know you form that relationship. You know they trust you because they're giving you information that they wouldn't normally give another person. If they're talking to another marketing agency or whatever you are, they're talking to one of your competitors. Getting that between you and me is one of the most satisfying things that you can have, because that's when you know that you formed that relationship. Okay, so once you formed that relationship, how do you keep that relationship? As a salesman, you're not necessarily going to be with that client all the time. You know, you're going to hand that person or that client over to your team. Forming the relationship with your team, which I have spoken about before, forming that relationship with your team is just as important as forming that relationship with your client. Because if you form that relationship with your team, you can come in and do that handoff with the client, and the client doesn't feel like you've just come in and dumped them. A client never wants to feel that way, because you've gained that trust and you've gained that relationship and they like you, and then all of a sudden you're out of the picture. Most salesmen are going to do that. Most salesmen are going to be out of the picture, and unfortunately you won't be able to be that hands-on, project manager, but that's why you have a project manager, so you can hand them off to them, or whoever you hand off your client to, whether it be customer success, whoever you're going to hand that client to is the people that you need to form a relationship with, because then you can tell them how your relationship with this client has been going, and they'll be able to relate to them as well. Because you form that relationship with them also, they can come to you with questions, you can come to them with questions and say, hey, how's that client going? If you're one of those salesmen that has continual revenue, when it comes time for them to renew that contract and you as a salesman get that portion of that business again, you want to make sure that your clients are happy. You want to make sure that the people that you hand your client off to, that your client's going to be happy with them. And forming that relationship where if they are not doing what they're supposed to be doing, that you can come in and be like, hey, client is a little upset, and them not feel like you're watching over them or attacking them, is because you have that trust and you have built that relationship. Alrighty guys, if you got some value, maybe even a laugh out of that, why don't you send it to someone you know, send it to someone you love, send it to someone you hate. Who knows? Maybe they could even get some information out of that. If you like what you saw, how about you go ahead and follow us on LinkedIn, check out our YouTube channel. Make sure you are subscribed to our channel, because we are going to be putting out cool videos and useful information like this. And I'll catch you guys on the next one.